Crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I'm here to share the last stamp set from the Nook Designs September release, and it's called Pick a Pumpkin. It has 7 different solid pumpkin images, and they have a variety of patterns, and then one of them includes the sentiment thanks. I really like the versatility of this stamp set, and there is a coordinating die set that cuts out the pumpkin, and it works for all of the pumpkins. And it cuts out the stem and also a pumpkin face. So if you wanted to just die cut the pumpkin face as opposed to stamping it, you can. And that can allow you to back it with some yellow paper and create a sort of jack-o'-lantern look. Particularly what I like about this is, besides it just having a lot of interesting patterns, it's not exclusively a Halloween set. When they put the pumpkin face on a pumpkin, it really limits you. But because this stamp set has the pumpkin face separate, I think that, it makes it able to be more versatile. The card that I make could be a card you use for Thanksgiving, or it could be used just on any day of the year. Now, it might be a little bit hard to tell, but I'm actually using a Hero Arts Ombre ink to do this stamping, so there is a slight variation in the color from the top to the bottom. And when you use the Hero Arts Ombre inks, you definitely want to kind of move the stamp about on the pad, because if you just press it into the pad, you're going to get a very clear line where one color stops and the next begins. So instead, just move that stamp back and forth on the stamp pad a little bit just to kind of create a natural ink blend. And then I'm going to use that one die cut to die cut all the stamps. I really like the versatility of that and how Jennifer thought about how to keep it economical. And you don't need a different die for each pumpkin, so it really reduces the cost of that die set. But the stem is separate so that you can do some layering, and the stem will work for each of the pumpkins as opposed to including on all of them, and it allows you to make the stem a different color. So I'm just going to stamp a bunch of stems and also cut them out. Now, I want to keep this card simple, because I really want these interesting pumpkin patterns to be the star of the show and the little bit of ombre in there. So I just picked out this piece of wood grain paper, and I'm going to be layering the pumpkins as a little pumpkin patch. I decided that the thanks sentiment should definitely go in the front so that you can clearly read it, but that I want to make sure there's a little variation in the patterns and the layout. So I am deciding to glue on some flat and some with foam tape. But because I am doing 3 layers, I need a flat layer, a foam tape layer, and then a double foam tape layer. So some of them are going to need to have even a little bit more dimension. Because if I just put a piece of foam tape down on another, overlapping a pumpkin that already has foam tape, it's going to be uneven, and I'll need a little bit of extra foam to pop it up. So that top layer, where it is touching one of the pumpkins behind it, it only has a single layer of foam, and where it is touching the card base, it has a double layer of foam, because it needs that little extra support underneath it, since it actually is sitting even higher. But I am using a very thin foam tape that I happen to pick up at the Dollar Tree, and so even though I do have 3 layers on this card, it actually isn't that thick, and I think it would go through the mail without any problem. I'm personally a big fan of those thin foam tapes because I think that they give you a little bit more mailing versatility, and you don't have to worry about going to the post office and getting some extra postage or something like that. I'm doing the same exact thing with the stems, where the stem on the thanks, it is not overlapping anything, so it needed that extra layer of foam tape to make sure that it was in line with the stamp. And now I just want to add a simple touch. You might recognize this twine because when you order from Nook Designs, your package comes wrapped in a little bit of twine with a touch of washi tape holding it all together. And so this is the orange twine that comes from Newton's Nook. Now, this particular piece was not long enough to tie around and then tie a bow. So when you have those instances, what you can just do is use a second piece to tie a bow. This also might help you tie better bows if you like the look. So just tie a piece wrapped all the way around and then tie the bow onto that first piece using 2 different pieces of twine, and it gives you a little bit more room to fuss around with it, and Also, I find that with tying a bow, I don't have any sort of fancy special method. All I do is tie it the way I tie my shoes and then fuss around with it a little bit. Sometimes putting a little dot of multimedia matte behind where you like it so that it stays in the direction that you like it. And because there's already a little bit of dimension on that card, this bow is not really adding any extra bulk. And I'm going to attach that to the card base, but I thought I could use just one more touch, and so I'm going to round the corners. I think the rounding of the corners really can add a little something extra to a relatively simple card, and I leave the corners of the card base though unrounded. And that's going to be it for my card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more card making tutorials, including designs from Nook and Nook, but also coloring tutorials, you can subscribe to my channel. As mentioned before, this is part of the Nook September release, and so you can go over to my blog and enter for your chance to win this stamp set, and I'll leave a link in the video description below. Thanks for watching. Bye.